Hi, I'm the List Girl, and welcome to my videographic journal. So, I've kind of been waiting for this video by Paige Layle to come out. I watch her videos. They're very useful and informative, and as well as other autistic videos, obviously. And learning more about myself, even though I've had autism since I was 12, but I'm still, a developing, growing human being, and things are changing, and you learn new things about yourself every day. As I just said, I watch her videos, and I knew that she was going to discuss this topic, and I'm going to put it out there and say I don't know what ABA is, but I'm about to find out, which is why I want to capture my authentic reaction to it. I don't know what it is, but I have heard that it's supposed to be really bad treatment of people like me on the spectrum. And I guess the main reason as to why I want to capture my authentic reaction is because I have a feeling that I'm about to get quite offended and upset about the topic at hand, because it's the 21st century and being different is still for some reason seen as bad, despite by natural occurrence. I guess we are all different and it should just be accepted at this point, and it's still not. And any bad treatment of autistics, of any people, really makes me sad, but any bad treatment of autistics makes me feel even worse. And I feel like it's important to capture my reaction right now, whether it's for posterity so that they know how this kind of shit makes me feel, or whether it's just for the community or neurotypicals to, get some sort of glimpse of what it feels like. And so I'm going to be watching Paige's new video and expressing my authentic emotions and thoughts and feelings. Paige Layle, if you are watching this video, thank you for everything that you do to the community, for the community. Okay. Shit. Let's do this.
You know what the video is about because you saw the title. This is a video that I've been dreading to post, less dreading to make, because I am passionate about it, and I know that this is a video that a lot of people need to hear. And my thoughts on ABA is one of my most asked questions of all time, and so I know that this is an important video for a lot of people. The reason why I am dreading posting this video is because the few times I've talked about ABA before on my TikTok have not gone over very well. If you guys do not know me, my name is Paige Layle, and I'm an autistic human. If you don't know me from here, you may know me from TikTok. If you're not doing so already, you can go check me out on TikTok at Paige Layle, and while you're at it, you can follow my Instagram with the same name. So today we're going to talk about ABA, and I have a few boundaries that I am going to lay out for you guys, and there's just some things that I need you to know. Every time I talk about ABA, there's a group of people who really like ABA and they want to fight against me. So there are a few things that I need you guys to know. The first is I will probably not be reading any comments on this video. There are some things that I simply will not discuss, and some things that I simply will not argue about. And people may think, that's not fair, debate with me. I do not have to, and also I should not have to. As an autistic person, making this is very hard, and reading all about ABA and learning about everything that's going on in the world is really difficult. And then to be here and try to convince people that I deserve to be treated like a human being and not lesser than is exhausting. I will not be exerting
Ain't that the fucking truth
towards arguing with any of you about why we deserve better and why we don't deserve a lot of these things. I recognize that there will be ABA therapists that will come up and try to argue, and I will tell you right now that I am not going to argue with you. You are exercising your academic right to debate with me based off things that you've learned in school, which is ableist anyway, and I am trying to argue human rights and my rights as an autistic person. and they are not the same. So I will not be arguing with anybody who makes money off of doing these things to autistic children. Of course, you're going to vote that you would like to make money. So I am not going to be arguing with you, and I think that if your job is to help autistic people, you should listen to them. There are boundaries that I need to have in place to protect myself. If you are not autistic, this will never be as big of a deal to you as it is to autistic people like me. So I will not be arguing with you. The other thing is, I know that there will be a lot of parents that will want to argue with me as well. And I think that the goal from mostly all of my content everywhere is to educate parents of autistic children so that they make better choices for their autistic child. And I know that there are going to be a lot of parents that think that ABA is the most helpful thing in the world because their child is now more manageable or easier to take care of now because they've gone through ABA. And I bet that you are right. That does not mean that ABA is fair or good, and that does not mean that making your child behave in a certain way that you find easier is okay for the child. Another thing that I will not be tolerating is any tone policing. A lot of people don't like me because of my tone. As an autistic person, I know that I communicate differently than you do. There are some things that I cannot change and some things that I don't understand that they even need to be changed because they're not inherently harmful. Just because sometimes I talk with less emotion than you do or with different faces than you do does not mean that my points are not valid or the words that I'm saying don't have any merit because I look different than you do. That's just autism. But also, if there's any tone policing of people saying that you don't want to listen to me because I'm angry or my tone is off or I sound condescending or anything, I deserve to be, because this is a matter that directly impacts me and other autistic people, and I'm allowed to be angry. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. If you are very upset that my tone is this way, you are welcome to leave if you really want to. I'm not here to force you.
You have a right to express yourself any way you need to.
To do
express
anything.
yourself.
But if you want to comment to tell me to change my tone, do not expect me to do so. Tone does not register in my autistic brain. So hi, I'm Paige and I'm autistic, and I'm going to tell you about why I think that ABA is bad, and I'm going to provide you with some evidence to help you understand my opinion. Before we get into more of this video, I need to let you guys know of something that is currently happening right now in the United States. I am in Canada, so there is not much that I can do, but I understand that 72% of my audience is from the States, and so I'm asking you guys for help. One thing that ABA therapy is known for is using electromagnetic shocks, shocking autistic children, shocking autistic people when they do something deemed not okay, when their behavior is not okay. A lot of ABA therapists will say, it's changed, it's not like that anymore. Which good, it shouldn't be. You should not be shocking people. It actually is like that because the FDA has decided that they have no jurisdiction over deciding if places can use shocks for autistic people, which is frankly the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The Judge Rodenberg Center is using shocks for autistic people, and the bill has just passed that the FDA said that they can't do anything about it, so they are now allowed to use shocks and other torturous methods for their behavioral correction therapy. Electrocution is used when students are doing things such as flapping their hands or saying no to things, or just straight up being autistic people, reacting to pain. It was designed to be more painful than a taser. It causes not only psychological trauma, but third-degree burns and tissue damage. And often it's like around their leg, like they're prisoners. They overruled an FDA ban on shock torture, even though the UN has claimed it to be torture. And this same school has also violated other human rights, such as using sensory deprivation, isolation, restraints, starvation, and actually have killed 5 of their students by using dangerous, harmful, obviously deadly tactics. And actually, one thing that hurts me so much is that the teachers of this school and the parents were the main advocates for utilizing shock therapy on their kids. So if you are in the United States, I would ask you to contact your congressperson and demand that they implement the Keep All Students Safe Act, which bans all kinds of isolation, deprivation, and torture. Please tweet and share #StopTheShock and
Okay. I'm just in a bit of shock, I think. That was a lot worse than what I thought it was gonna be. That is actually barbaric. That is medieval. We're not fucking dogs. And even with dogs, you put on a shock collar and that's still inhumane. That's still wrong. But to do that to human beings, oh my god. Oh my god. I'm actually disgusted. I don't use, at least these days, I know back in the day I did, but these days I don't use functioning labels. But I am assuming that these things are happening to people on the lower end, and I'm just imagining my cousin, who is on the lower end, just having these barbaric treatments done to. And he is a beautiful soul. He's very visibly different. There's a lot about society and his environment that he doesn't understand. His stimming behaviours are very expressive. It can sometimes be distracting. And sometimes he struggles to express himself and talk. But he has a right to be the way that he is. And he has a right to express himself the way that he wants to, the way that he can. And society has a problem with that. The problem is with society. It is not with him. He has the purest mind of anybody I know. He is the same age as my little brother. And his mind is so pure, and he is so smart. He is so smart. And just the idea that if he were in America, in a place like that, he would be shocked, starved, and oh my. So what? So he can be normal? It sounds like you're trying to create fucking robots. Like literally, it reminds me of that fucking song from the TV show called Weed, or Weeds, or whatever it's called, and it's... No, I need this. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of tiki-taki, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a pink one and a green one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they're all made out of tiki-taki, and they're all just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university where they were put in boxes, and they came out all the fucking same. And there's doctors and lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of tiki-taki, and they are all the fucking same. Like, It sounds like you're trying to make fucking robots. That is so barbaric. And some of them died. Are you shitting me? And she literally just said, like, sometimes they're treated like this just for saying no. If this was some feminist shit out in public and women were no longer allowed to say no, women would lose their fucking shit. They're fighting so hard for their rights in order to say no and to stand up to, like, rapists and perverts and trying to make this whole, like, no means no. But yet an autistic person can't say, no, I don't feel like interacting with you today. No, I don't feel like expressing myself today. No, I'm okay not being like the rest of the fucking society that is royally fucking screwed. I am fuming. I need to calm down. I'm just gonna let it roll.
Please continue to listen to autistic people as we advocate against this. And please sign petitions, share information, spread the message, reach out to members of Congress, reach out to the FBA, reach out to the Judge Rodenberg Center, which has me and every other autism advocate I know blocked. So please, if you can, if you are able to, share this video, share other videos, tweet about it.
I hope, Paige, if you're watching, that this is good enough.
We want as much...
Of course, I will share your video alone everywhere that I can.
...noise about this as possible. And please, if you're in the States and you care about this, please advocate for the Keep All Students Safe Act. And hopefully we can change this. So yeah, I'm not very happy today. Not doing very good today. It's really sucky.
I have a feeling I won't either.
We have to keep fighting for our human rights, and it's like every day something new is happening to autistics and people don't care, and it's very hard, and it sucks to be the only ones advocating against this. And there is your intro to what ABA is. ABA is a short form for
I just had a quick thought. It does suck that we have to stick up for ourselves, but I'm pretty sure it also sucked for black people up until now to stand up for themselves. Obviously, there's a lot of white and other races now backing them up these days against racism, the same way that it was women that had to stand up for themselves in order to make a change. And I feel like just the same way we are now making a stand and be like, this is how we are, let us be. We have rights too, kind of thing. It's the same for us LGBT. We also had to stand up for ourselves. And as much as it sucks, I think this is the only way forward for now. And we need to keep going.
Applied behavior analysis. An ABA therapy is a therapy commonly used to treat autistic children. And oftentimes in the US, especially because you guys don't have socialized healthcare, ABA therapy is the only therapy covered by insurance for autistic children. So oftentimes it is the therapy that parents put their autistic children through. Oftentimes parents are given the information that ABA will be the best for their child to be more independent and live in this world. I want to first acknowledge that parents of autistic kids, I can guarantee that you guys are all trying to do your best. None of you want to cause harm or hurt your child in any way, and I bet that you are very confused and you just want to do the right thing. And so I'm not blaming you whatsoever. We live in an ableist world that provides ableist information and that wants to eradicate autism. I'm sure you guys have heard of Sir Ivor Lovaas. Lovaas is the one that created ABA therapy, and ironically, he's also the one that...
Elon Musk is autistic. He literally just came out as autistic. He is one of the smartest people on earth. And people want to eradicate autism. The amount of people in history that have built this society who were autistic, or parts of history Like, people that have made change. I'm not saying Elon Musk is the greatest human being on earth, which he's not, but he is a genius. And so many people in the past who are also... Tim Burton is autistic. Can you imagine living in a world without his version of Alice in Wonderland? Living in a world without The Nightmare Before Christmas? What the fuck are you doing? Are you thinking this through? Neurotypicals, they're not all the same. And despite being neurotypical, a bunch of them are fucked up. Why do we have to be the one to disappear? It is baffling. What would you neurotypicals do without Tesla? Elon Musk and his new electronic cars that are helping the environment? Okay, they're not the most, pocket-friendly of cars. But he's trying to make a difference in that area. And he's autistic. I don't understand. Yes, I know there are a lot of autistic people that have a very difficult time. And a lot of struggles. But every human has struggles. And we're not just going to go around and start eradicating groups of people just because they don't fit into a fucked up society that has been created around power and making money and fitting it in. It's disgusting is what it is.
Gay conversion therapy. They are
Preach!
Similar. You cannot make a gay person straight, and you cannot make an autistic person not autistic. It was a while ago, and so
Preach.
I'll give it to you, ABA therapists. Things have changed since then. The main ideas of this are horrid, and you can change it as much as you want. It's not going to work. Let me read a quote to you that Lovaas said about autistic kids. You see, you start pretty much from scratch when you work with an autistic child. You have a person in the physical sense. They have hair, a nose, and a mouth, but they are not people in the psychological sense. We are off to the greatest of starts. One way to look at the job of helping autistic kids is to see it as a matter of constructing a person. You have the raw materials, but you have to build the person. So that's great. We are not whole people. We're not even people. So that's amazing. That's an amazing reason to start a therapy. 40 hours a week is still the recommended time for autistic kids to do therapy. That is a full-time job. 40 hours a week is a full-time job. That is more than they attend school a week. Can you imagine attending school and then attending therapy? That is so unfair. The main goal that Lovaas wanted is to mold autistic children into typically developing children, basically to try to make them look as neurotypical as possible. There are positive and negative reinforcements to get the ideal behavior. And a lot of the negatives are now taken away from ABA therapy, which congratulations, they should. And some of these include electric shocks, which still happens, withholding food, which still happens, withholding affection, which still happens,
Withholding affection? Okay. Georgia knows a family, back in Essex. It's a wife and a husband, and they have 2 boys. One of them is a neurotypical, very successful, very... I don't know what the fuck they do. But anyways, the other son is autistic. He has a lot of behavioral issues. He is aggressive. He gets very angry. He gets very upset. By the sounds of what I hear, he is frequently burnt out. The difference between this autistic kid to my younger cousin, who is also autistic, who sound to me, and Georgia does agree that they seem to be on the same level on the spectrum. But their upbringing was so different. My cousin is not aggressive. He is very sweet. He's very caring. And the difference between these 2 autistic males was love. It was care. And it was affection. My auntie, bless her soul, put so much love into that child. And he has bloomed into such an amazing young man. And yes, he still has a lot of difficulties, and there's some things that he still can't do. But he is amazing. And unfortunately, this other kid, his parents favorited the normal one. And of course he's angry. He probably never felt love or care from his family, from his parents. Of course he's angry. Of course he acts out. He's a human being, for fuck's sake. And you want to take away care and affection from these kids and expect them to act normally? You're making it worse. The difference between these two autistic kids that are, I assume, on the same end of the spectrum, is one of them was loved. One of them was cared for. That is the only fucking cure.
Being put in an isolation room, which still happens, being restrained, which still happens. One other thing that a lot of ABA therapists say is that there are no negative reinforcements now, it's only positive reinforcements. If you withhold a positive thing, that's negative reinforcement. That is a punishment. My first thing, and this is, I think, the most important thing, autism is not a behavioral disorder. Autistics are not a sum of their behaviors. Behavior is a secondary reaction to something else going on. Behavior is communication.
Yeah.
Behavior is trying to communicate what is wrong. If you change that way of communication and take that away from children, you're showing them that how they feel doesn't matter. That what's going on doesn't matter. That only how they look to you matters. It awards compliance. And to modify behavior does not do anything for the initial reason the behavior is even there. I have people ask me, my autistic child doesn't have meltdowns. Are they not autistic? And I say, they're happy. Autistic people don't have to have meltdowns. If they're happy, they won't. Why would you want to mask the behavior and not get to the root of the problem of why they are unhappy? You can modify behavior all you want, and that does not change anything that's going on.
It's going to make it worse.
My other problem with ABA therapists will argue, some people are not doing ABA correctly, and that's why you don't like it. The correct way of doing ABA is fine. No, it's not, because autistic people are not a sum of their behaviors. So if you are doing ABA correctly, that is the most harmful way. My other problem with this is that 99% of things autistic people do, behaviors that we do, are not harmful and do not need to be changed and should not be changed. We need to get out of the mindset that autistic people need to behave and act like neurotypicals. That is untrue. That is ableist. What we need is, as a society, as a world, to accommodate autistic people. If a behavior is harmful, sure, that, an autistic child should not be hitting themselves or other people. Fair. Why are they doing that? How can we prevent that feeling in the first?
My little cousin, when he was younger, he used to beat his head into the wall whenever he tried to explain himself and just couldn't, because he didn't have the words, because when he was much younger, he couldn't speak. And whenever he was misunderstood, he would get frustrated and smack his head on the wall. That isn't an autistic trait. That is a reaction to the environment that he's in. He's being misunderstood. When a neurotypical is misunderstood, they also get frustrated. But again, my auntie put so much love into him that expression of frustration disappeared. It is not a autistic thing. It's just a reaction, an expression to life being misunderstood. Nobody wants to be misunderstood. And if an autistic person is hurting themselves, I'm willing to bet it's probably because they're being misunderstood. It doesn't have anything to do with autism. And as Paige very well said, it's about treating or taking care of whatever is causing that frustration rather than saying, oh, it must be their autism, gotta fix it. It's not the autism.
First place, how can we have and understand their feelings and emotions and how to deal with them better? It shouldn't be a matter of, we're not going to change the environment to suit you. You're just going to have to get used to the environment and hide the pain that you feel while you're in it. You are teaching the child that their thoughts and emotions are not theirs to act on, that they need to be people pleasers. Their body is not their own. Their thoughts are not their own. How can someone be independent when they're dependent on you for what they need to do? What does that teach children in the future? The idea is a lot of the time independence. I don't see that being independent. Will autistic people not just do that for the rest of their lives? Wait to see what other people want them to do, always. That is incredibly dangerous and manipulative. And some people say, well, what else are we supposed to do? What else are we supposed to do? There are hundreds of therapies out there that are so much better psychologically for autistic people. For example, occupational therapy, I recommend. Regular counseling and therapy is a good one as well. I think the main thing is teaching children emotional intelligence, having children understand what their emotions are, where they stem from, and accommodating them. Of course, there are some things that you cannot accommodate, but there are a lot of things that you can. For example, there are a lot of ABA therapy places who a child will react to loud noises. They then give them more loud noises more often so that they stop reacting to them. That child is not no longer okay with loud noises. They've just desensitized themselves, dissociated from the environment so that it doesn't hurt them anymore, or they're just trying to pretend like it doesn't bother them so you don't punish them or you don't withhold reward from them. Same thing with if a child doesn't like tags on their shirt. Some ABA places will make the child continue to wear tags on their shirt.
Why is that such a big deal? Oh my god. Even the little things? Are you shitting me? Who gives a shit if a kid doesn't want to wear a tag on its...
To do the same kind of effect. It's not going to work. It's just going to desensitize the child and show them that you do not care about what they feel. Those things can be accommodated. You can wear headphones in public. You can cut the tags off shirts. I would like to remind everybody that sensory issues that autistics face are not just a nuisance or annoying to them. It's physically painful for us if something is too bright, too loud, and by exposing us to that, you are teaching us to deal with the pain instead of have no pain. When I get something out of the oven, I don't just continue to grab it with my bare hands.
Preach.
And it burns every time, but then I develop calluses on my hands, so it burns less and less each time, and I just get used to the pain. No, instead, I put on oven mitts. I have that accommodation so that I don't have to feel pain. There are tools out there for autistic kids.
Really good metaphor.
To do the same. And I disagree with places that want kids, that want autistic people to just deal with it and expose it to them more. That's torture. That's not, I don't like that at all. And I know people are going to say, Paige, you are vocal. You have no idea what it's like. You have no idea. You're high functioning. First off, I am not vocal all of the time. Being vocal for autistic people is often fluid. Second thing, functioning labels don't exist. Functionality is also fluid. There are a lot of things I struggle with that people that are non-vocal don't struggle with, and vice versa. You cannot separate autistics into a dichotomy of high functioning and low functioning. That doesn't work. It's not descriptive enough. It doesn't make sense. It straight up doesn't work. It comes from eugenics. I have a video about all these labels and stuff if you guys want to go watch that. But third thing, you should be listening to non-vocal autistics as well. Speech is not the only method of communication, and it's not the only method of communication that people should care about, and it does not dictate who is a respectable person.
Talking doesn't make you smart. In fact, there's some people that talk way too much that should shut the fuck up.
There are non-vocal autistics that are making noise everywhere, and you should be searching them out and listening to them as well. Another thing, there was a study done on autistics that have gone through ABA, and this was a study that was done in 2018, and I will link it down below. Autistics that have gone through ABA are 86% more likely to develop PTSD and CPTSD from ABA therapy.
Not fucking surprised.
86% more likely. And also in the study, it was found that 46% of autistics that have gone through ABA have PTSD, with 47% of that 46% having severe PTSD from ABA. One sad thing that I learned is that a lot of doctors cannot tell the difference between autism and PTSD because therapists have not seen an autistic person that does not have trauma, and that's very sad. Let me read you some things from the study of non-speaking autistic people that have gone through ABA. I will link this down below as well if you would like to read more. I recommend that you guys look at this article because they have a lot of videos showing ABA actually in the works, and I bet to neurotypical people everything will look normal, but to autistic people you will be able to see how horrid this is. It makes me so upset watching it. Several of the children
I will be watching that in a minute.
are rubbing their eyes like they look very tired, but this is not addressed, and this is also ignored. The child's needs are not important and do not matter in the grand scheme of this whole operation. You can see it with the girl in the supermarket that she is getting very overstimulated, very worked up, and this is also not addressed and not accommodated. With the crying child, they are ignored, their needs are not met, and no one wonders, why are they crying? Are they overwhelmed? Are they tired? Are they exhausted? Are they overstimulated? Is something going on? But then you can see that when they stop fussing and go back to doing their work, you can see how upset and defeated they are on their face. Even me as an autistic person who can't read facial expressions very much, I can tell that that child clicked in their brain that no one cares and that they have to comply. That's their only way that they're going to get out of this. She's not happier. She's just accepted that her feelings don't matter. And the fastest way to escape
Sounds like prison.
the situation is to comply. And that's the problem with ABA. It only addresses the child.
I watch a lot of true crime shit, a lot of horror movies, a lot of thriller shit. This literally sounds like Taken. His daughter that gets kidnapped and trafficked, it's a word I can never say, and then gets spread around for sex and is drugged up. And what does she have to do? She doesn't have a choice but to realize that I guess I'm never going to get out of this, and the only way that I can lessen my abuse and my pain is just to deal with it and not retaliate, not do anything, just let it happen so it ends faster. That is what I'm fucking hearing right now.
Child's behaviors and not the child's needs. ABA also represses stimming. That's not cool. Stimming is a good thing that should happen. Everybody stims. I've talked about stimming. My video a few weeks ago is about stimming if you guys would like to go see it. Here are quotes of non-speaking autistics' thoughts on ABA. 40 hours a week of touching flashcards won't help a toddler who may have an inability to focus visually or hear speech distinctly in a sea of sounds or be able to move the way he wants, to gain the sensory control or muscle control he needs to be able to communicate or show his intelligence. That's because ABA believes autism is a severe learning disability that is treated by drills, rewards, and baby talk. This makes recognition of the motor challenges nearly impossible because all the data from the child's success in performing the drills is interpreted as a measure of how much the child understands speech and not of whether the child can get his body to move correctly. Therefore, if a child is told to jump and he doesn't jump because he can't get his body to move at that moment in that way, his failure is chalked up to a lack of understanding the word jump, even if he damn well understands the word jump and everything else. To interpret data solely based on the belief that a person's actions are an accurate reflection of their comprehension of speech leaves out the possibility of helping this motor-trapped person address his real needs. That is by Ido Kedar. Remember, these are non-speaking autistic people, people that you would probably deem low-functioning. I just want you to remember that as we read these highly intelligent words that these people have written about their own experiences. Here's another one. As someone who has had every sort of treatment thrown at them, I say don't do any of these things. No child should be in 40 hours of therapy like I was. The most effective thing my parents did was to join me in cutting paper and the things I loved to do. I also enjoyed cutting paper. It was the only way I knew to connect with the outside world. All the rest of it was irrelevant. Understanding that your child experiences the world differently from you is the first step towards acceptance. Sometimes I wonder what my childhood would have been like had I just been allowed to be able to do my own thing. Stopping my behaviors was the wrong way to go. Fortunately, I'm a pretty patient guy. That was from Nico Boskovic. Here's another one.
It literally just hit me. You are taking away these kids' childhood. When you see a child struggling, your first inclination is to help. If a kid is born into like a poorer family or into an abusive family or with parents that abuse drugs or alcohol, the first thing that would happen is people step in and either try to help or they take them away from that situation to try and give them a better life. But this, because you think that there is an issue, you are taking their childhood away. You are forcing them into painful situations because you think that there's something wrong. It's like the reverse. That is so heartbreaking.
Some recommend up to 40 hours a week of this therapy, which consists of commands an autistic child must follow to exhaustion, responses an autistic child must give correctly, even if the answers don't match the child's feelings or preferences, and the repression of movements that autistics use to regulate their own bodies. Besides this extreme regimen, the experts insist that parents use the same tactics at home. So, parents pay a lot of money to people who don't allow autistics to experience growth.
Telling an autistic person to stop stimming is like telling someone with anxiety to not worry about their breathing. It's like being in the middle of a panic attack and not being able to breathe. Just being reminded that somebody can breathe helps the panic attack. I hope that makes sense.
And the world the autistic way. They pay for abuse. Parents are made to feel guilty and encouraged to force their children into molds that were not made for them. Autistic children are not allowed to be themselves, being forced instead to learn how to pretend, never learning self-determination, never allowed to have an independent thought. Not surprisingly, the majority of ABA proponents are making a lot of money by stealing the childhood of autistic children. 40 hours a week of drills plus homework, the children don't experience their own personal development. This is considered abuse if done to non-autistics. And then we
exactly
have to
what I just said.
Too much money. Wrong. ABA therapists cost too much money. Take them out of our lives. Let autistic children be children. Let autistics develop in our own time, learning about ourselves, learning self-determination. I can hear the apologists. My ABA is not like that. If you bill ABA prices, if you want to change how an autistic acts, reacts, or interacts with the world, and your ideal model is a neurotypical type of behavior, your ABA is as bad as I described it. My child loves it. How would you know if she is not allowed to have her own thoughts? The word no or refusal to comply with a therapist's commands are not.
Try telling a feminist she can't say no.
Another reason is that children do learn to fake in order to please. That is, after all, what ABA defines as success. Obedient pleasers. It is not enjoyment, pleasant, or something to look forward to. Yes, some children might show enjoyment in some moments, but I did too when I got my cookie for looking at the therapist. I wanted that cookie. I briefly looked at her. I got my wish. You could say, at that moment, I loved it. It's not as bad as you think. Yes, it is. Putting children through unending hours of training, not allowing them to be who they are, forcing an experience of the world we autistics can never naturally have, and stating how not good enough we are to everyone else is pretty bad. It is abusive. It is disrespectful. Autistic children need to learn certain skills. All children do. Respectful approaches don't cause trauma and value our essence. It does not imply we are broken. All children make mistakes and they have a chance to learn. They are kindly guided and taught. But to ABA proponents, autistic children and autistic adults are not allowed to err. They are forever labeled a failure or abused until they get it right. I had some ABA when I was young, and I flunked. I want to say I am proud of this F in my life. Of course, the expert's explanation for having failed to make me into a tidy, appropriate, good girl, obedient and compliant autistic was my severe impairment, my extreme low IQ, my inability to learn, or, as Lavasse would probably have said, and something a doctor actually said, my lack of human dignity. I prefer my own assessment. If you want something from me, if you want me to do something, respect who I am, respect my way of doing things, listen to me and allow me to disagree and to find my own way. ABA rejects all of this, and that's why I failed it. I am, though, a very disabled autistic who needs a lot of support, but who is completely independent in what I believe matters most: my thinking, my ideas, my decisions, my identity. I am completely distinguishable from my peers, and proudly so. I am free to say no when I see fit, and I do. Amy Sequenzia, another. As an autistic boy, I want you to know I am happy. My autistic neurology makes me think very differently than most people. I can sense the world keenly, making me a very observant person. People make wrong assumptions about people who don't act like a typical person. Making assumptions about something as important as your child is dangerous if you make the wrong conclusions. I have lived the conclusions of my parents' wrong assumptions. Being thought as retarded and in need of remedial education assigned me to many years of ABA and useless therapies based on neurotypical assumptions of autism. Man assumes many things they don't really know. The best way to know someone is to hear from them personally. The only way to hear from me has been through RPM, Rapid Prompting Method. I think most autistic people can make use of assistive means to communicate. Parents should look into learning more communication methods. Body awareness programs would also help a lot. My parents have done a lot of therapies. Making life as normal as possible and helping us to communicate is what makes the biggest difference in our lives. Please teach us interesting things. Don't just address the things you want to fix. Accept us the same way you want to be accepted yourself. Mainly, maintain an attitude of love and patience towards us. Making us feel loved is an essential part of helping us meet the challenges of living in this world. Philip Race. And there are a lot more. In short, autism is not a behavioral condition. Behavior therapies do not work. They are traumatic, and they are torturous and murderous in some cases. I would like to remind you guys again, please, if you're in the US, to contact your congressperson and implore them to advocate for the Keep All Students Safe Act. I hope you learned something. I hope you continue to learn. Thank you for listening to Autistic People. Please.
And thank you, Paige, for making these videos. Was it this one? Invisible abuse.
Of the basic tools used in intensive behavioral interventions, the discrete trial. The discrete trial is made up of several distinct components.
Nice sitting, good girl.
It begins with the SD, or discriminative stimulus.
Do this.
This is the instruction given by the therapist to the child. Next, the therapist either waits for the child to respond or provides some help in the form of a prompt if needed. Finally, once the child has responded, the child is given reinforcement, a reward for a correct response, or a correction for an incorrect response.
Let's try it again. Do this. All right, good trying. I like how hard you're working.
You have just witnessed one discrete trial. After a brief pause, the therapist then begins another complete discrete trial. A discrete trial is made up of the following three components: an SD in the form of an instruction by the therapist to the child,
Didn't like that.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead and pick.
Alexa, call. Lemon lime.
Alright, let me get some for you.
It looks like you're trying to teach dog tricks. It literally looks like you're trying to teach your pet to do a fucking trick.
We're gonna go get a cookie? Abby, you asking for a cookie? Tell him cookie. Tell him cookie. Good job. A chocolate chip, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one.
Let's go. Get the cart. So we're gonna use the cookie as a reinforcer to get Abigail to push a cart and help with grocery shopping. Good job. Okay. Put it in the cart. Nicely. Nicely. Good job. So Abby's starting to use a container to pour juice at school. So we're gonna get this so that she can use that. Okay? Put it in the cart. So we put the backpack on Abby so that we can use it as a handle. There's a handle on the back, and if she starts to elope, we can grab her. And also, she carries all of her stuff in it, like pull-up,
A dog on a leash.
swipes if we have an issue while we're out in public. We got it taken care of. Can you get crackers? Show me cracker. No, cracker. Remember? Cracker. Good job.
Get in here nicely.
It's a great job. You're listening so well. Yeah, you are. This is a cookie. Show me cookie.
The more we shop, the less compliant she tries to run away to escape the activity. Well, yeah, she's probably getting tired. I am a 27-year-old adult woman. When I go shopping, it's very chaotic. With my headphones and the noise cancelling, it becomes a little easier because it blocks out a lot of the noise. But before I knew these even existed, which wasn't until this year, shopping has been difficult. There's a lot going on. And the last thing I want to do when I'm out shopping is being taught something. First of all, I'm going to struggle to pay attention, and if you're trying to teach me something whilst I'm struggling to focus on my task at hand, it's probably going to drain me even faster. This poor girl, I understand that it's okay, it's important for her to learn how to, go grocery shopping. She's going to need to know how to do it one day when she's older. But it must be extraordinarily frustrating for her after a while, where she's like struggling to cope with all the noises and the visuals, and her parents keep telling her to do this and do that and do this and do that, and getting told off if she gets it wrong, or being given a treat as if she's a dog if she gets it right. It's probably draining her even faster. I'm not surprised that after a while she's like, I've had enough of this, I just want to get away, and she runs away.
Gentle. You gotta stand up. Abby.
Stand up.
Let's go. No.
What's that? That's random food on the floor.
She's tired.
Okay.
She probably just wants to go home by now.
Put it up there.
Pick it up. Nicely.
Now let her go.
Nicely. There you go. Wait, Abby. There you go. Here, this one. Nope, don't touch.
That was a successful shopping trip. The cookie lasted the whole time, And we started where we could only take Abby in for about 5 items, and now we have a whole cart full of groceries.
Okay. I'm not gonna get into this. I'm starting to shut down, I think. But final closing thoughts. Everything I just heard was very disturbing. To see how much abuse is being caused as a means to make somebody normal, when they're as normal as they're gonna get, because normal is different. Normal equals different, because normal doesn't exist. As I always say, everybody has their shit. If you want to teach them life skills, as those two parents in the grocery store were trying to teach their daughter how to go shopping, put things in carts, there's ways to go about it. Don't treat them like a dog. Talk to them. It was very, very clear that the mother was talking to the daughter, and the daughter was understanding. It's not like we on the spectrum don't understand. We understand things. But if the world tries to make it harder for us to express ourselves, or to try to take part in existing in the society that we live in, or taking part in the society that we live in, we're gonna struggle. Like the idea that if somebody talks, it means they're smart, so they're trying to force these children to talk verbally in order to fit into the society, or to make it easier for other people for them to be heard, or whatever the fuck. And using such vulgar, medieval, barbaric treatments just doesn't make sense to me. If it was a neurotypical that had a speech impediment, or if it was a neurotypical who was mute, you wouldn't force these behaviors on them. You would just understand they can't talk. And guess what? Braille was invented. Technology such as, I don't know what the word is, but like you type stuff on the computer or the tablet or whatever and it speaks for you. That's why these things were invented. I wouldn't have expected my little cousin to speak if he couldn't, or if he didn't feel like he needed to. I know for me, majority of the time, yes, I am vocal, but I do become non-verbal when I'm burnt out or tired or exhausted or frustrated. I definitely hate when someone tries to force me to talk at that moment, because it's either going to come out all wrong, I'm not going to be able to express myself properly, or I'm just not going to be able to do it, and that other person is going to get frustrated with me. But that's just one example. You can't force people to be a certain way. For example, if someone is addicted to drugs and they can't seem to be able to help themselves, what does their friends or family do? They cause an intervention. Does that help? Majority of the times no, because it needs to be that person that needs to want to make the change and makes the choice to want to make that change, until it fully processes into their head that they need to change and the drugs are bad for them, until they change. Interventions, majority of the time, don't work. Now, I'm not saying that being autistic is anything like being addicted to drugs and needs intervention. Absolutely not. What I'm trying to say is you can't force someone to be or do something because you feel they need to. Especially like those non-verbal autistics, put beautifully, expressed beautifully. The only way to help is to care. Treat autistics like human beings, and you're most likely going to have a better outcome than any of this disgusting behavior that is happening here. We are not empty robots that need to be programmed. We're not pets that need to be taught tricks. We're human beings. We have our own individuality. All we need to express that individuality is the space, the safe space to do so. Like my little cousin, he was given that free, safe space to bloom, and he bloomed. That other poor kid that I gave an example of earlier, that Georgia knows, back in Essex, he was never given that opportunity, and he's grown up to be, there's no other way of saying it, but bitter. And people turn around and say, oh, he's just that autistic. No, he's not that autistic. He wasn't given opportunities. He wasn't treated fairly. He wasn't loved. The problem isn't the person. The problem is the environment, the ableist environment that they live in, that refuses to try to understand them. And until that changes, you're not going to get the results that you're expecting. I have nothing else to say. I'm so exhausted. I hope this video was helpful in any way. Definitely go over to Paige's YouTube channel. I'm really starting to shut down. Definitely go over to Paige's channel for more amazing, informative, very helpful videos about autism. I am the List Girl, and just before I log off, I just have one question for you. What is your next adventure?